Enough is enough, guys. Rachel Zegler, in her 4 years in the industry, has seen women get torn down for far too long. It's about time we stop with this insanity. I love it. I love this so much. Not, these theoretical women get torn down, which, especially, somebody who's been working in the industry since 2020, like somebody who got handpicked out of obscurity and anointed as the next big star in the industry by Steven Spielberg, somebody whose resume has more bombs than your average IDF officer and yet still finds a way to get work. You say torn down, I say treated fairly, but then I also say it just doesn't happen, bro. It really doesn't happen, unless of course you're talking about the toxic fans that are out there that are rightly chastising your casting, and also now you coming back around because here's your character arc, because your character in Snow White's reboot is obviously going to be, oh, she was great, and then she has to convince everybody else that she was actually better than she was the entire time, and then once everybody starts to believe in her, she will actually be able to defeat the evil queen because she had the power inside of her the entire time. It's going to be so wonderful, but not as wonderful as these interviews she's going to be given, because she went from insufferable entitled 304 to demure, submissive 20-something-year-old during that, what was that, Variety interview with the little walleye. Now coming back to be full insufferable hag in the lead up to the release. Oh, it's going to be a fun 5 months. I love it. Give me more. Live action Snow White star Rachel Zegler claims her criticism of animated original were intentionally misinterpreted. Yeah, those dastardly people out there using your own words against you. Darn it, they were just misinterpreted again. No, when you said that's Hollywood baby, that's showbiz baby, when potentially your co-star could have their big break snatched out from underneath of them because you need to have another dress sequence in the film. Or how on social media you attacked Sean Bean, Jeremy Renner, people that work a hard day's honest living, only to see your insufferable comments online and not understand how difficult it is to work in Hollywood, to stand around in a dress for 18 hours and need to get paid for it when they're down there in the bloody mines for 14 hours. They don't know what it's like to be on a Hollywood set. They don't know how hard she's had it at 23 years old. Now, according to the star of the upcoming live-action remake, Rachel Zegler, not only did critics intentionally misinterpret her previous criticisms of Disney's original animated Snow White. Oh, how she said that she only watched it once, didn't really like it, she was scared, and it was really weird. It was weird how she was saved by the prince. Oh no, that was Gal Gadot's. I guess I misinterpreted when Gal came on set and went, no, she's not going to get saved by the prince. Okay, Rachel, you take it from here. No, that was misinterpreted. Right, how it's outdated, how it came out. So it's like 85 years old. It's not 1937 anymore. But that is also due to their own inherent misogyny. Oh, great. Of course. As readers may recall, asked by Extra's Katie Krause during the D23 Expo in 2022, I know you told me before that your version of Snow White is different and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that? Oh, here's where the obfuscation comes in, guys. The original cartoon came out in like 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who like literally stalks her. Weird, so we didn't do that this time. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap, great dude. It's one of those things that I think everyone's gonna have their assumptions about what it's actually gonna be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024, 2025 now. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut out. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. How could you possibly misinterpret that? But let's just let the little genius inform us as to how we were so wrong about that. Providing even more information as the adaptation's direction during the August of last year with Variety, Zegler further detailed the reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the idea of women being in roles of power and what a woman is to fit in the world. Please tell us more for somebody opining about what it was like 85 years ago who has been around for less than a quarter of that. Do tell, opine for us, sweet princess, and who can become a fantastic leader, what it is to be the fairest of them all. It's now just no longer about who is actually more beautiful, because, even as insufferably and untalented of an individual Gal Gadot is, nobody would confuse who would rate higher on the attractiveness scale between the two. So yeah, we have to go with fair means just, right? Means just. Yeah, we'll go with that. And the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into the power over a kingdom. Well, you kind of spoiled it. Spoilers, God. So reflecting on the discourse during a recent interview with Variety's Salome Haliou and Casey Stevens, whatever, Zegler recalled, in all honesty, it made me sad. Aw, guys, Rachel was sad, so we shouldn't make fun of her anymore. Okay, it was taken in such a way because I believe that women can do anything. A piece standing up without making a mess. But I also believe that they can do everything. Oh, really? Kill a spider by yourself? I would never want to box somebody in and say, if you want love, then you can't work, she said. Yeah, because your little pea brain could never comprehend the idea of A, sharing your wealth, and B, having a sustainable enough career that you could go ahead and provide for somebody else. Yeah, no, that definitely wouldn't come across your feminist riddled mind. It can be very upsetting when things get taken out of context or jokes don't land. The story is very integral. A lot of people wrote that we weren't doing that storyline anymore. No, we were always doing the love storyline. Bro, it was just a joke when I said everything could get cut out. And yeah, I understand the whole, it's Hollywood, it's showbiz, baby. That was obviously a joke. It was a crap joke, but it's also a woman trying to be funny. What did you expect? She said that women can do everything. Yeah, there's another thing that they can't do. But it's so funny, right? Because so important to that movie, yet she was so disposable, because before Rachel Zegler, Disney had two other Snow White actors of color in mind. Oh, very interesting. So Snow White was never going to be Snow White. It was always going to be a Snow Brown live action remake, and Zegler, yeah, she wasn't even the first pick, huh? That's interesting. During a video on the WDW Pro channel, Polly of Latino Slant made a startling claim regarding the Walt Disney Company's live-action remake of Snow White. The film currently stars Rachel Zegler, who has become something of a lightning rod of controversy. Young actor has called Prince Charming a stalker in the original film, declared that Snow White will receive a new origin story in her film, and has repeatedly conveyed that Walt Disney's original film, feature film, is dated, a product of its time. It's 85 years old. It's all antiquated. She probably thinks is a long-lost relative. However, it turns out that Zegler's casting may have been far more interesting than the public is aware. According to Latino Slant, the runner-up for the role was Renata Vaca. Okay, another young Latina actress asked about the qualifications Disney had for putting out the casting call for Snow White prior to choosing its talents. It affirmed that Disney had specifically indicated that it was open to all types, extra dote, which may be a code in Hollywood to diversify a role previously associated with somebody who has features as white as the driven snow. Whoever could we be casting? But it gets even more interesting. Polly went on, that's Latino Slant, by the way, to say that not only were there two leading candidates for Snow White, the women of Latin American heritage, Latinx, but the third runner-up for the role was an unnamed woman of African descent. Oh, also seems as if Disney was set out to make a controversial statement in the casting choices for a German princess, even before Zegler came onto the scene. So yeah, at this point in time, having a black Snow White would be less controversial than having Rachel Zegler, because she's out there spilling the beans, because it's not like anybody was going to see this and it was going to kick off a year of bombs for Disney. It's still going to. It's just now things get even worse, right? Because, okay, you have a retcon for her origin story. You have a retcon for her love story. You have a retcon for fairest of them all. So now Snow White's going to have a retcon for her name? Oh my god, this thing is gonna suck. Actress Rachel Zegler confirmed the upcoming live-action Snow White film will change the origin of Snow White's name. Of course, because, you know, now the cool thing, okay, even stupid Rings of Power, Gandalf has to have an origin for his name. He has to get his name a little proto-hobbit because it sounded like Grand Elf, the one to die. In Disney's original 1937, Snow White's name is due to her skin color. Yeah, exactly. How do you square that circle with the little half German, half Honduran Venezuela? I don't know, one of those shithole countries. A storybook opens and reads, in each day the vain queen consulted her magic mirror, or Miro in this case. Shout out the Redeemer. Magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And as long as the mirror answered, you're the fairest of them all, Snow White was safe from the queen's cruel jealousy. The film then transitions to the evil queen asking the magic mirror, who's the fairest of them all? But instead of answering that the queen is the fairest, it transforms her. Famed is thy beauty, majesty, but hold, a lovely maid I see. Rags cannot hide her gentle grace. Alas, she is more fair than thee. When the queen instructs the mirror to name the person, the mirror replied, lips red as the rose. I could have went with the rose. Hair black as ebony, skin white as ebony, skin white as snow. The queen then says, Snow White. God damn it. Snow White. And the mirror's like, why didn't you use her hair color? Because even though it's 1937, we can't call her Snow. Anyways, in an interview with Variety, Zegler revealed that Snow White's name is not due to her skin tone. Yeah, exactly. It's due to her vapid personality. She stated, it fell back to another version of Snow White that was told in history, where she survived a snowstorm that occurred when she was a baby. And so the king and queen decided to name her Snow White to remind her of her resilience. Oh, that's interesting. So, okay, cool. You want to say that that's lore accurate, that you're adhering to canon. What about your love story? What about that? Oh, we're just going to pick and choose when it comes to the lore? Oh, so this is once again going to be a lot more like Rings of Power to Lord of the Rings than PJ's trilogy was to Tolkien. Oh, fantastic. Zegler added, one of the core points in the film for any young woman or young person. Yeah, because you need to make sure you get that gender non-binary crowd, which at this point in time, I guess if you're saving seats for them, you could just go ahead and have, 41% of that audience, just reserved for the waiting list because it might not make it to the screening, is remembering how strong you actually are because your parents look after you in a snowstorm. You're strong because your parents were strong. Anyways, not only did Zegler confirm that Disney's live-action remake is changing the origin of Snow White's name, because that's what people were wondering, but she also addressed the backlash she received regarding numerous comments made at D23 when everybody lied about the words that she said that were caught on tape and run back with very little commentary because no additional commentary was needed to just see how much of an idiot, how much of a wall-eyed, entitled trollop she surely is. I wanted to use more colorful language, but I'm going to be a man of the time. I'm going to be a man of 1937 and realize that this isn't Snow White. That's not going to be a Snow White story, and Rachel Zegler, yeah, she's just a dumb bitch, hey? So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.